AFL clubs are doing everything they can to try and get a leg up in the competition. Pre-season is the time for this, with coaches and players working hard to develop a system, get fit and prepare for a grueling season. Because of the competitive nature of the AFL, clubs can take it too far and reach for the strangest things to physically and mentally prepare their players. League headquarters themselves have used the time to explore their own concepts and try and develop the game. It can be quiet in the off-season, but these events made plenty of noise at the time. We have to start in the early 90s with one of the most famous pre-season debacles. It was serious, but not serious enough that we can't find some humour in it. During the 1992 pre-season, the Adelaide Crows headed to Rapid Bay in an effort to increase team bonding and resilience. Paul Blackburn was the motivational leader in charge of the camp, which took a strange turn on one particular night.
Specialty firewalking. Ironically, Nigel Smart came up with the idea 6 months ago after reading an article on Blackburn. No one was forced to take part, it was up to the individual. At one point, 40 were ready to hot-foot it.
It was all a little strange and cult-like in hindsight, but the intention of the night seemed in good spirit. It is interesting that Nigel Smart, who was a defender for Adelaide at the time, came up with the idea of firewalking. It would net him into some trouble.
It was Nigel Smart, but things didn't go according to plan. 10 steps, 9 metres, burning coals generating 600 degrees Celsius. Volunteers weren't called for, Nigel Smart was pumped up and raring to go. Rushed back to the Crows' camp, Smart wasn't looking comfortable. Serious burns to his feet.
Well, I'm not really worried that I got through okay. It's just a couple of little burns on the way, so it's no big deal.
Officials later admitted they had made a mistake.
What can you even say? Now, the club did not force Smart to do the walk, but saying the 600-degree, 9-metre straight of fire was safe at the beginning of the event was crazy. The club immediately put an end to the night's fire activities, but the camp would continue on. Smart wasn't seriously injured, but did miss a few weeks before returning back with the team.
Exercise, endurance, speed and balance were today's key factors as the teams manoeuvred their way around the Wirrana obstacle course. Once again, the blindfolds were out as players learnt the meaning of counting on your teammate. As the day wore on...
The 1992 camp wasn't the last one to feature blindfolds. 26 years later, the repercussions would be much more severe. After Adelaide's 48-point grand final loss to Richmond, the club, similar to what they did in 1992, wanted to build up the mental fortitude of their players so no ill effects would be felt from the grand final loss. Between January 29th and February 2nd, the playing group headed to Queensland and undertook a program run by Collective Mind. Again, the intentions were right, but a lot of the events at the camp had significant fallout for the players and senior officials involved. According to The Age and Sam McClure, who broke the initial stories about the camp, which are now taken down due to a defamation case, the players who attended the camp were split into 3 groups. Groups 2 and 3 were reported to have a much easier time than Group 1, but were still transported to an undisclosed location, forced to keep their heads down, and had heavy metal music blasting the entire trip. Group 1, full of the senior players, is where many of the relationships at the club broke down. Eddie Betts, who was in Group 1, wrote in his book about his experience on the camp. From a Fox Footy article it reads, in his account, Betts published several claims and details from before, during and after camp. At the camp, after being split into 3 groups, players in Betts' group, which was Group 1, were blindfolded, loaded onto a bus with paper over windows and driven to an undisclosed location. During the bus trip, Richmond's theme song was played on loop. There was an initiation process. Betts said he was put into a body harness with a rope being held by teammates attached to him. He was told to fight his way towards a knife to cut himself free. Camp instructors hurled verbal abuse at him, and the content of that abuse derived from confidential information Betts had given prior to the camp in a private counselling session. Other events that were disturbing included the fainting of Tom Lynch during a staring exercise between players where he was told to get up, the Wolfgang meeting which had players tied to trees and needed them to crawl to a knife while being yelled verbal abuse at them by 9 teammates, which Eddie Betts was referring to. Activities at the camp were culturally offensive to some of the players, and social interactions were extremely limited throughout the time at the camp. Now all this was reported by The Age in mid-2020 when most of the fallout from the club had already taken place. After poor 2018 and 2019 seasons, Don Pike resigned, assistant coaches in Brett Burton and Scott Camporelli were sacked as well in 2019, and by the end of the 2020 season, a number of players had left the club. Some of these players included Eddie Betts, Mitch McGovern, Josh Jenkins and Bryce Gibbs. Adelaide cut ties with Collective Mind midway through the 2018 season. The AFL investigated the camp in the same year and did find no breaches of conduct, although did believe the club should have shown more care for all the players involved. In 2021, the South Australian Independent Work Safety Regulator also cleared the club. You could argue the effects of the event are still being felt today, and it no doubt put the club in a culturally poor spot for the 2018 and 2019 seasons. In a bit of a flashback to the past, let's have a look at a pre-season video from 1979. Retrospective is a great AFL YouTube channel with plenty of archived games and videos. A recent upload was on the War Without Weapons documentary, which followed North Melbourne's campaign in 1979. Now we all know modern day pre-seasons involve a lot of ball work early on and traditional weight and running programs for the players. But have a look at the more military style training the North players did in their pre-season over 40 years ago.
Forward, forward, to the ground, forward, 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 back, 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 to the ground, forward, 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 come first. Down, forward, 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 hit the ground, forward, forward, left, 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 left.
Good, good. Really spring, recover, recover. Good, come on your feet, don't lay there, you'll get speared in the head, hurry up, right over, good, good. Hurry up now.
There aren't many big weight rooms here or nice facilities in these clips. This next one shows a circuit of grueling running and body weight exercises.
Touching. Build up the triceps as well. Good, lots of spring, pick your feet up,
The clips show how far the competition has come in terms of the type of training done and also the investment by clubs in getting in those top tier facilities.